Hi, I'm Chris Stirewalt, and it's time for Power Play. Now, you got to have a lot of chutzpah, and that's what we call it in West Virginia. You got to have a lot of chutzpah to be in 5th or 6th place in the polls, not leading in any state, and say, I'm the nominee, and I'm going to get there by the long game. That's what Jeb Bush says, and that's what he and his campaign and Super PAC all say, is that they can go the distance and are making an aggressive case that they can do so. What about that? Does that actually work? And can the machine gunner's approach actually carry Jeb Bush to the nomination? And notice I'm asking a lot of questions. People who have, we hope, a lot of answers include Matthew Continetti. He is the Shah, the leader, the exalted one of the Washington Free Beacon. And that is true. And he writes a column that if you do not read every Friday, you are cheating yourself. You are absolutely stealing from yourself. Timpf is, in fact, with a rival publication, National Review. Yes, quite so. She is our esteemed Fox News colleague as well. Good to see you. How you doing up in New York?
Great. Everything's wonderful.
Everything is wonderful. Wow, everything is wonderful. We don't get that a lot. Okay, so Kat, here's the question. Jeb Bush says we can't, that he said, and he and Mike Murphy, the guy who's running a super PAC out in California, say that they can sort of take the Roland the headless machine gunner approach to the Republican primary for now, gun everybody down, wipe everybody out, be the last person standing, and be ready to go into the general. Do you buy that?
No, I do not. What long game? More ads? More attacking Trump, which when he attacks Trump the way he's attacking Trump, it looks kind of desperate, like he knows he has nothing else left. He was counting this whole time on having all the establishment support, which he does have a lot of, having a lot of money, which he does, but he keeps running these ads. What's he going to do? Keep running more ads when they're not helping? He doesn't know what else to do. He looks really desperate. It sounds like he's hoping if he walks or talks the talk, people will think he can walk the walk. I don't see it happening. It is kind of pathetic and sad.
But other than that, he's doing a good job, Matt.
It was a fantastic Trump impression.
Right,
from pathetic and sad are two of Donald's favorite words.
Call it like I see it. Gotta call it like I see it.
That's right. It's the Al Chervik Trump. Oh, but it looks good on you. So the question for you, Matthew, is Jeb Bush has to run this terrible gauntlet, and they say they've got the $100 million that it's going to take to absolutely obliterate Marco Rubio, the first and most existential threat to Jeb Bush's candidacy, and Kasich, and Carly Fiorina, and whoever else is left. And now George W. Bush is on the attack against Ted Cruz, and they're just going to take everybody out, and Jeb will get to Trump, and then he'll beat Trump somehow and go to the general election. Does that not sound a little crazy?
Maybe a little crazy.
Okay.
But this is the Republican Party's problem, Chris, is that typically you have one establishment candidate, an office holder with a great resume who's next in line for the nomination. And then you have many other conservative candidates who are kind of revolving around him, and they all split the conservative vote, allowing the establishment candidate to get the nomination. Well, this year, I don't think I've ever seen this before in my admittedly short life, but
not as short as it used to be.
No, exactly. It gets older every hour. It's now switched.
Right.
You have one completely outsized non-establishment populist conservative frontrunner. You have a second, almost co-frontrunner now in these national polls who represents a more Christian conservatism.
And more conservative generally.
Exactly, more conservative generally. That's Ben Carson. And then all the people who normally would be the next in line, all these great resumes and these office holders, they're splitting that establishment vote.
Kat, doesn't that speak to something about Jeb Bush's general excellence, that if he has not been able to clear the field, if Rubio is still there, if Kasich is still there, if Christie is still trying to hang on in New Hampshire, if that stuff's going on, does that speak to Jeb Bush, or is this cycle just different?
It's like nothing we've ever seen before. The thing is, there's nothing more establishment than somebody with the last name Bush, right? Everybody knows that name. Everybody knows that. And it's not even just that the number one front runner is not establishment. It's that the top two are.
Right.
So clearly what people don't want is an establishment candidate. He's about as establishment as you can possibly get.
All right. Now, last thing, Matt, and I want to get you and then Kat to explain for us. how do you see what's the likely run out from here? Give us your 20 seconds on what do you think the next chain of events will be?
Well, it's still so early, Chris.
It ain't that early. It's 100 daggone days to Iowa.
Remember, the voting starts a month later than typical. So it's really not. I truly believe
you're whiffing. You're pulling back.
I'm not whiffing. We're going to see the race shape up in January of next year, and that's when we actually can start paying attention to these state polls and seeing. And the truth is, if Trump is still ahead in these state polls in January, he has a real. I think he's going to frighten the establishment to such an extent that some people start departing the race, and among them could be Jeb Bush.
Could be Jeb Bush. Kat, what's your call? What do you see?
Well, like Matt said, this is like nothing we've ever seen before, so it's kind of impossible to know what to expect. We don't know what's happening, so how are we supposed to know what's going to happen? More people are having more faith that Trump has a shot at this, which that part's normal, because if somebody remains ahead in every poll for so long, a lot of people are going to start thinking, oh, he's going to stay ahead. Why wouldn't I think he's going to stay ahead? So this is so bizarre that I can't predict it, and nobody can predict it. So I guess we'll just have to see.
Kat, Matt, you guys have successfully evaded that question, but provided us with much insight and perspicacity.
My honest answer.
We thank you both, and we hope you, Internet, had a good time, and we'll come back for more Power Play real soon.